time for a quick book review on Mark Reviews stuff. Now, I'm always listening to something on Audible as I go through my day, as I'm washing the dishes or shoveling snow in the driveway or going on a bike ride or riding the train for work. I like to multitask, and anytime that, my mind isn't really engaged in what I'm doing, I'm just kind of doing something repetitive, mowing the lawn, for example, cleaning out a closet or something. I like to give myself something to focus on that keeps me doing that monotonous task that I wouldn't otherwise enjoy quite as much. One of the books that I just finished recently, this was a recommendation for a friend of mine named Samantha. This is called The Power of Habit, and this is a New York Times bestseller by Charles Duhigg. Now, is this a psychology book? Yes. Is this a sociology book? Yes. Is this a textbook? Yes. Is this a nonfiction kind of easy read that's entertaining? Yes. It kind of sits in this middle ground where you're going to learn a lot, and it's approached from a very educational, methodical point of view. And as an example here, this much of the book is the part that most people would consider the book itself. From this point forward, this is the afterword, but I want to show you how much of this is notes. Okay? He has a note about notes, so a note about sources, right? And starting with this page right here, notes, everything from here to the end is citations. This is quotes and additional references for scholarly journals and papers and things that they are citing in this book. I mean, that's almost a quarter of the entire thickness of this book is just the references. So, you could definitely make the argument that this is a well-researched scholarly work, right? This could be like someone's doctoral thesis, but it doesn't read that way. I listened to it on Audible, and I love Audible. I love that as an audiobook source. It works really well. But this is one that I might recommend actually reading, which I did not do, but I'll show you why. There are diagrams and charts and things that go along with what they're saying, and so as you're listening to the Audible book, as the audiobook on Audible, it's describing some of these diagrams in some cases. So, for example, here's a diagram of a subway station in England that experienced a terrible fire. Okay, this would have been helpful as I was listening to the audiobook. I just had to picture these things. So, I'm a huge advocate for audiobooks because of that, multitasking I described earlier. This is one that's probably better read, although I listened to it and didn't read it. Okay, The Power of Habit, brief summary here. It explains why we do the things that we do, why we impulsively or compulsively do things. This book talks about, very specific instances where people have lost brain function, and the only thing that they can do over and over is whatever was an ingrained habit ahead of time. They talk about doing tests on rats and things like that. So really pretty interesting, but that's all the setup for, well, what do we do now that we have that information? Now that we know that habit is something that exists and can be changed over time. Then they kind of give you a step-by-step how-to of how to change habits. So that's the part that I think could be leveraged the best from this book, and maybe the part that's the most compelling. I love kind of case study, here's my thesis, here's an example, here's another example, here's another example, and that's kind of how this is laid out. This is very similar to like a Malcolm Gladwell type book, Charles Duhigg's book here. So if that's the kind of book that you like, you'll enjoy this one. There are real-world applications in like a business setting, management setting. But more than that, this book is really kind of about changing your own life. If you have a goal that's always seemed unattainable, losing weight, exercising more, saving money, etc., the idea is that this book, if you follow some of the principles in it, that will help you achieve those goals. And if you have a bad habit you're trying to overcome, it gives you tips for how to overcome that bad habit and replace it with a good one. So if any of what I've just said sounds appealing, go check it out. This is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I'll leave a link in the description to where you can pick up a copy, either a hard copy like this or get it on Audible. I recommend it. It was enjoyable. Not my favorite kind of nonfiction self-help book of all time, but it's definitely compelling. So go check it out. Okay, that'll do it for this Mark Reviews Stuff book review. Subscribe to this channel. I post things like this all the time. Leave me comments in the section below. If you've read this book especially, I'd like to know what you thought about it. And then check out some of the other reviews that I've done on this channel. Books, movies, places, all kinds of stuff for you to check out. Make a habit of watching my videos. Thanks.